Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the Fairlane. Back out in the shop today working on the 64 Fairlane. And we got some Thunderbolt reproduction parts that we're going to be installing, reviewing, and telling you what we think about them. 64 Ford Fairlane race car that Ford built had air cleaner bonnet with two big tubes that ran down into the high beams on the Fairlane as like a cold air setup. So that's what we want to do on our Fairlane, is put that setup in it. So these parts I got from an enthusiast in the Fairlane community that makes these parts. Virgil Exner, he's a moderator on the 64 Fairlane page, as well as he has an email that you can email him at, so I'll leave that down in the description section. He produces these parts. He's a one-man show. He kind of just does it for everyone in the Fairlane Thunderbolt community. He makes the Fender, the bump-out aprons. He makes the tube kit. He also makes the tubes themselves. He has the tow hooks for the factory height bumper or the raised bumper, and he's working on making the little clips that go on the trim for the back window so they don't fly off when you're ripping down a quarter mile, which will happen. So I need to get a set of those when he makes them. But so yeah, we'll be reviewing this. This is a super nice heavy duty piece. Bends are super clean. He TIG welded it together, so the welds are all super nice on it. Nice small clean welds. Heavy gauge. It's about 70 thousandths thick steel. Looks like it fits the car pretty well. I kind of held it in there a little bit, but we'll be going over the whole install. Looks like you left a little extra material here at the bottom, which is nice because I can kind of cut it and trim it to match the other side, so they look pretty even. I'm pretty picky when it comes to my stuff, and I like everything to be really nice. Air tube quality is nice. Looks like painted them gloss black. I don't know if he does that or if he just did it for me. The insides are unpainted. I plan on painting them. I'll probably just paint them like a flat black or maybe gloss black as well. You won't really see it that much anyways once you have the mesh in front of it, you know. So nice cut mesh. Got the real rubber seals for that. Everything looks nice. It's packaged well. It's pretty simple. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, please check him out. I'll put his YouTube channel below too, because he also has a YouTube channel. He's got his own video on installing this stuff, so you guys can check that out as well. So let's get to it. Sorry, I got my heater running in the background, guys. It's still cold out here in Illinois. So here what we're going to do is we're going to grind this back. There's spot welds here that I'm going to cut all these spot welds out. I want to try to get this section of the panel out pretty clean. The rest of this is just going to be cut. This panel is going to fit in there something like this, but you're going to drop it in from the engine bay side, but you can kind of get an idea of a lot of this factory material is going to stay there. I'm just trying to cut a pocket close to this line here so that I can go from the engine bay side and just drop it through, and then we come on back to the back side and weld this all in, and then we'll weld this on the other side, probably just spot it back in like it was from the factory. Over here, same thing, we'll weld it up, probably seam seal it up, body work it out when I do the engine bay, and paint it body color is the plan. Alright guys, so what I did is I held the panel in here and I raised it up just a little bit so I can see about a little over 1/8 inch of material here in the header, and then I traced it along this line in here, and you can see the transition in this little square transition. So once I remove this, so those two little transitions where it notched in, it notched in here I can see I just put a straight edge along here and I traced that, so that's going to be my cut line. Same thing up here. I just went down to that transition line, which is where this little notch is at here. It kind of tells me where this bend is at. So I'm trying to cut it there, and it's going to be a little tight. But then I was coming here with a wizard wheel, and I'll grind this down so it moves over just enough so it drops in. Or I'll cut on the outside of the line. It'll probably give me enough room so that this panel will drop in. And then that top line, same thing. I can see that mark there. So I just put a straight edge there, and I made a mark straight across. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to try to get the majority of the chunk out of the way so I can get in here to grind this to get to these spot welds and cut these spot welds out. I mean, really, I could probably just cut it right at that pinch weld there, whatever you want to call it, and then weld this in place. And when I body work it and all that, you would never even know that that little flap is still there. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to cut this out. Then we'll start test fitting this thing until it's how we want it. And then we'll go from there. Main cut. So we basically still just need to move this bottom section here and this piece here. So we'll slowly fine tune that. All right, guys, so I got it in there pretty good. A few things I had to do was I had to notch here a little bit just to make it fit a little better. There is a bit of a gap there, but I think what I'm going to do is just suck it in a little bit. I mean, it's not really tweaking it very much. I think everything will be okay. The biggest problem that I'm having is down here. Let's see if I can move this camera so we can see it. For some reason on my car, the fit here is not very good. You see there how much this angles? And I got this notch, and there's a pretty good gap here all the way down. For some reason, it's not sucking in. I think it's because of this bend here. I may be able to actually put it in the vise and tweak this bend out a little bit so that it falls in a little further, and this gap will close. Or I could cut all the way across this and section a piece out. This way I can move it in exactly where I want it and close up this gap. I don't think I'd be able to bend this out enough to close up this gap, so I'm thinking what I might do is section it, re-weld it back together, and I'll just grind it down, and then I think I'll have a nice clean fit. So that's where I'm at. Get this cut up and get it tacked in, and we'll get her going. All right, so I got that sectioned. I just got it tacked. I ground back this edge a little bit here, kind of blend it. Once I body fill this, it's gonna build it up enough to where you won't even notice that. So I'm just gonna final weld this here. I'll grind it all back smooth, and then I'll put it back in the car, start welding it all in, and that'll basically be it for that. Then I'll move on to doing the air tubes. All right, so I got that thing all tacked in there. Got it fit up real nice. All that stuff there, I'm just gonna seam seal it, and then I'll go back over it with a little bit of filler, smooth it all out. You won't even tell. It'll look real nice. As far as paint, this car is painted Dodge Viper red, and I'm pretty sure that they painted the stripe in between on the chrome trim. This paint, which is adrenaline red, Chrysler adrenaline red. So I think I'm just going to use what's left of this to paint under the hood. I think it'll be close enough. I'm just gonna do under here down all the way around. And then I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna do this ox blood red on the whole inside this whole area here instead of black, just so it matches the underneath of the car, because the whole under the car is done in that. Just have it come up into the wheel wells too. I think it'd be nice. Something other than just red or black. We'll see. So that's it for the fender bump out. Requires some fab work. I mean, any of this kind of stuff is never going to fit perfect. Every car is different. It was a good part to begin with, but you are going to have to cut and grind and get dirty to get it in there. So definitely going to thank Virgil for that. He makes a nice piece. I appreciate him, you know, making these for other enthusiasts to have. Gives you something great to work off of. If you just want to, you know, cut some and modify to fit your car how you want it, it's a nice piece. Alrighty, well, next up, we're going to get to the air tubes. So, alright guys, so we're on to doing the intake tubes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow Virgil's lead on how he did his. This is the headlight bucket assembly, I guess you want to call it. So this would be the outer. No, this is actually the inner. This is the outer. It's supposed to be high beam, low beam. This one's already slightly modified. Somebody modified this one. It was on the passenger side of this car. You can see that they already tacked these in place. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to have to come through here and weld them a little bit more on the outsides. And then I'm going to have to bend this one a little bit so that I can cut a hole in this so this tube will fit into it. And then you retain the factory mounting points for the chrome trim ring that goes around the headlight. So that's what we're going to start doing. I'm going to have to clean some of this paint off. I'll probably just wire wheel it. See if I can tack it in here a little bit better on the outside, bend this up, and then I'll start opening this up. And then I'll use this as a template, bolt it in the car, and then I can mark where I need to cut through the headlight panel, which I'll show you guys what I'm doing there. I already have another one mocked up in here. As you can see on this one, I got this one in here already. This one's not been modified ever, so it's the factory look. Now you can tell that that other one's been cut open some because, like I said, on the passenger side, there's already a hole there. The car had a supercharger on it that the air filter was going right to that hole originally when I bought it. So let's lower this down a little bit more. We'll get a straight shot in here. There we go. So once I tack these in place and I cut this hole open, I'll just bolt this back in here and I'll use it as a template to mark the headlight panel here. The core support, and I can cut through there. Everything will slide right through. And if you watch Virgil's YouTube video, you could see that what Crites wanted you to do originally was cut this panel in half and get rid of this whole half. And then the only thing that would hold that in would be the core support itself. You just slide it in there and it'd kind of be floppy. The way Virgil did it, where he retained the headlight panel and just cut this hole open bigger, it slides through both panels and it holds it in there way tighter. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna follow his lead on what he did. It was a good idea, so we're gonna continue with that. All right, guys, so we got them welded. Like I said, I just welded them right there on each one. Then this one, the way that it curves around, I just notched the curve a little bit so I can bend it, and then I just tacked it back in there. I don't know how you can see that right there. Because it's bent, it'd be hard to bend, you know, because it's got that lip around the edge. It'd be hard to bend, so I just put a little slit in it. Bent it and then put a little tack there just to move it out of the way so that we can drop this panel in here. So now all you gotta do is mark this and then cut that open. I think I'm just gonna use my snap-on body saw to come through here, and then I'll put a sanding scroll or something on and clean it up, make it look really nice. Little tip here for you guys. All these little tabs for like the headlight adjusters and stuff. Just before you cut this, you can drill all these out. You know, take all this stuff out of there. And then these brackets, now that you welded this, now that you welded this standoff on there, if you drill out these spot welds on this, then you'll just be able to cut across and this tab will come off. You have to try to cut through it. Just take like your cutoff wheel, just cut here, and then this tab will come off of there. Then you can try to take your body saw and just cut this thing open right along the lip, open it up. And you do have to bend these out a little bit to fit the tube in there. But then I think once the tube's in, you can probably bend them back a little bit, to fit the tube there. Kind of hard to video and hold it. It won't really go unless you bend them out a little bit. Just a little tip I noticed as I started doing this other one, the other one I didn't do that because it was already partially cut, because someone had the air intake there. But all right, so after we got this thing cut and modified, I bolted it to the car. I'm gonna use it as a template to cut the core support panel. So you just take your marker, obviously just trace it all the way around. When you're done tracing, just take it off. We'll use our snap-on body saw to cut that out the best we can. Then I'll probably put a flapper disc or something on to get the round nice and perfect. Once I paint it, it'll look real nice. And then we can put, we really don't have to make it super perfect, but I want to make it as nice as I can because we have that like door edge guard trim that we're going to put on there. So got to cut it a little oversized. We'll fit the tube to make sure that it fits in there good. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to get this cut out and then we'll come back. All right, guys, so I got the hole all cut. This is just a scratch mark right there. It's not part of the hole. I'm going to repaint all this. So you can see I got a trim piece in there. It's like door edge guard, rubber door edge guard. Let's grab one of the tubes. So it fits in there nice and snug. Boom. The idea how it looks on the inside. Coming through there. All right, so here's a before. The whole factory headlight bucket assembly there. The high beam, this is the part that we cut a bunch out and modified. Then we'll cut the hole behind there. And this is an after, the tube in it. Fits nice and snug in there. It's a lot of modifying, but I think it's a way better way to do it. This thing is in there. It's not going anywhere. It's just so snug in there. And then if you watch Virgil's video, you'll see how he talks about how you can put the trim ring piece back on here and it just bolts with the factory screws back into place. Eventually I'm going to have to test fit the whole front end on this car just to make sure that everything lines up. So there it is. That's going to be it for this video. I'm going to do this whole other side off camera. You guys got an idea just from the one side. And then we'll get on to body working the rest of the under the hood. That'll probably be the next video. I'm going to seam seal this off here, prime it up, And then I have a bunch of holes that I need to fill. Come in here and just get a look at it from the inside. I am going to repaint all this back red just like it is under the hood. And then I'm going to paint this front panel back a flat black to blend all this stuff in. Just tape it up. I'll probably just rattle can this flat black portion of it. So again, I hope you guys like this stuff. Hope you guys like the build. It's actually been a pretty fun build for me. I'm usually always building Fox body Mustangs. So this is a nice little change over that. And should be a really cool car when it's done. So if you guys like it, I'd appreciate it. I notice a lot of people are watching that are not subscribed. So if you guys like this kind of stuff, I appreciate it if you could just subscribe, follow along. I'm going to have more content on my 88 twin turbo blue hatch as well, with some drag racing and stuff. Some no prep stick shift racing this summer. So check that out as well. Again, appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one.